let's turn this into this. I'll show you how. First thing we need to do is get the measurements for the background. We want it to go inside the glass. For this background, we're going to use insulation foam. I picked this up a while ago, and it's just been storing it. So I came in to do a test fit to make sure our measurements were right, and I ran into a couple problems. The main piece of the background is too big to go in through the front of the tank. It really should go in through the top, but as you can see, we don't have a lot of clearance between the ceiling and the top of the tank. So I could move the tank down to get clearance, but the tank's pretty heavy and kind of awkward to move by yourself. The other option would be to cut the main background in half and put it in two pieces. As you can see, the smaller side pieces go in no problem. So here I got marked out the center line of the background. It's too big to go in as it is, so we're gonna cut it in half. But to make it more natural, you don't see a straight line cut in nature, right? So we're gonna kind of meander this, make it look like a crack, make it a feature in the back of the wall. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to fit. And there it is, done. How to make a background. Nice pink background for your lizards. Only kidding. This looks terrible. Let's make it look nice now. So now that we got the pieces fit, we can start being creative and lay out where we want the different ledges and features to be. So now that we have these all laid out, built, and attached to the backgrounds, we're gonna cover it with some dry lock and tint it with this concrete tint. So normally I would pour this out into a smaller container and tint it, but since I only have about a half a can left, and this is gonna use up probably the majority of the can to cover all this, I'm gonna just tint it in the can itself. And I found you need quite a bit of this tint to tint this white dry lock. Otherwise it kind of comes out too light and doesn't really look like rock. Side note, I'd recommend wearing gloves when working with this dye. Now that the color's mixed up, just gonna use a cheap chip brush, start painting it on. So I got one good coat here on the front. Gonna let this dry before I do the sides, flip it over, do the back, and then probably do 2 or 3 more coats across the front of this, and then we'll be on to the second color for detail. Now that we have the base color down, we're going to use a secondary color to add some highlights and definition. I moved the tank to the lower position because I think it looks better with just a single tank until I get the second tank and I put it up on top. But let's get the background in and see what it looks like. Let's get the rest of the tank set up. First thing we're going to do is put in this drainage layer. Next, we'll use some window screen to separate the drainage layer from the dirt layer. You're probably wondering what this brick is here. So I want to use a tree dripper waterfall thing, and it needs a solid base to sit on. I don't want to put it directly on the gravel or the dirt. So I built this lift for it to sit on, and I split it so that this drainage layer, or the screen separator, can go right up underneath it. I don't have to try to cut around it and don't have dirt slipping between this and the screen. And then the second part sits right on top of the dirt, or right on top of the screen, and the waterfall will sit right on that. And now we'll fill this rest of this area in with dirt.